What happens when the man hired to protect your secrets becomes the one who exposes them? Michael Ramirez, a trusted security professional who spent over 2 decades in the shadows of one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment world, turned whistleblower in the most shocking way. Imagine this, a Navy SEAL turned private security expert, now testifying in a federal courtroom with bombshell revelations about surveillance, manipulation, and control that went far beyond typical celebrity protection. His testimony didn't just rock the courtroom, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood, and it even caused Diddy's legal team to immediately request a mistrial. So, what drove Ramirez to risk it all and turn on his employer? What did he uncover behind closed doors that was so explosive it forced him to come forward? Stick around, because what you're about to hear will change how you see power and secrets in the entertainment industry forever. Michael Ramirez wasn't just any security guard. He was a former Navy SEAL with a prestigious military career, trained to handle high-stakes situations with precision. After transitioning to private security, he joined Sean "Diddy" Combs' team in 2001. At the time, Diddy's growing empire demanded heightened protection, not just for physical safety, but for something far more critical: privacy. As Ramirez ascended the ranks, he became head of Diddy's personal security, tasked with safeguarding not only his client, but the vast network of properties, businesses, and secrets surrounding him. Ramirez quickly realized this role wasn't just about protecting the man, it was about protecting Diddy's reputation, his empire, and, most disturbingly, the secrets that kept him on top. As the head of security, Ramirez was given access to everything, from security logs to confidential meetings and even a covert surveillance system that went beyond anything typical for celebrity protection. What began as a routine job to ensure safety soon evolved into something far darker. By 2005, Ramirez was overseeing a team of 12 security personnel, and the surveillance system he was responsible for began to include areas that were strictly off-limits: private meeting rooms, guest suites, even bathrooms. At first, Diddy framed it as a way to protect against false accusations, a reasonable concern given his high-profile lifestyle. But as time passed, Ramirez began noticing troubling patterns. Surveillance wasn't just about security anymore, it was about control. Something felt wrong, and Ramirez knew he couldn't ignore it forever. Over time, what seemed like routine security measures began to spiral into something far more complex and troubling. By 2007, Ramirez was tasked with implementing a secondary, highly sophisticated surveillance system that was separate from the main security network. This wasn't your standard celebrity privacy measure. The system, which Ramirez later referred to as the Archive, included high-resolution cameras and audio capabilities that could capture every angle of private meetings, guest interactions, and even intimate spaces. The most disturbing part, it was designed to be undetectable and accessible only to Diddy and a select few individuals, giving them exclusive control over the footage. As the system evolved, Ramirez's discomfort grew. What had started as legitimate security concerns about privacy and legal risks began to feel like an elaborate scheme to manipulate and control people. It wasn't about protecting Diddy anymore, it was about collecting leverage. Ramirez was instructed to monitor specific individuals at high-profile events, often focusing on moments of vulnerability or compromising behavior. And when he started questioning the ethics of these orders, Diddy's response was chilling. "This isn't an invasion of privacy, Mike. It's an investment in cooperation." Ramirez, a seasoned professional with a code of ethics instilled by his military training, knew this wasn't just security, it was a system built to ensure control and silence. But as much as it troubled him, his financial incentives and professional momentum kept him silent, at least for a while. Eventually, the realization became undeniable. He was complicit in something far darker than just celebrity protection, and that's when his decision to document everything began. As the years went on, Ramirez became more and more aware of the scale of what he was involved in. He began documenting his observations, initially out of a sense of self-preservation. He started keeping detailed logs of unusual security directives, especially those involving the secondary surveillance system. These weren't just casual notes, they were carefully organized records, cataloging every unusual order and every piece of footage that felt ethically questionable. Ramirez knew that without proper documentation, his concerns could easily be dismissed. He also understood the stakes of his position. Any misstep or breach of confidentiality could result in professional ruin. What began as a personal safeguard soon became an extensive record of what Ramirez described as unprecedented surveillance activity. Over time, he witnessed a disturbing pattern. Footage from these high-resolution cameras would often be transferred to secure storage devices, and the material was organized in a way that clearly indicated its purpose: leverage. Diddy's security team called it the leverage library, a room where compromising footage of individuals, business associates, and even guests was stored. Each video was meticulously categorized by name, event, and the vulnerabilities of those involved. Ramirez realized that these recordings weren't just about protecting Diddy from false accusations. They were being used to control people, manipulate business negotiations, and neutralize potential adversaries. With each passing year, the system grew more elaborate, involving an increasingly complex network of individuals and resources. This was no longer just about privacy, it was about power, and Ramirez knew that if he didn't act soon, he'd be trapped in the system forever. By 2010, the system had escalated to a point that Ramirez could no longer justify as simply security. A disturbing incident at Diddy's Miami residence forced him to confront the full scale of what he had become involved in. During a private gathering, Ramirez was instructed to collect certain guests' phones while allowing others to keep theirs. Then, he was ordered to activate the secondary surveillance system in specific areas where these select individuals would be present. The next morning, Diddy was reviewing the footage, focusing on compromising moments of these guests. When Ramirez expressed concerns about the privacy violations, Diddy coldly reassured him, "This isn't an invasion of privacy, Mike. It's an investment in cooperation." That moment became a tipping point. Ramirez began to realize that the system wasn't merely about protecting Diddy's personal interests, it was about creating a massive web of control, using private moments to maintain power over anyone who could threaten his empire. Diddy was no longer just a celebrity worried about false accusations. He was building a covert empire of manipulation, blackmail, and intimidation. At that point, Ramirez made the decision to document everything, but it wasn't just for personal protection anymore. It became his way of safeguarding the truth. He kept detailed logs of every directive that crossed an ethical line, every piece of footage that felt like an act of coercion. He had seen enough to understand that this operation was not a minor violation. It was a deeply troubling system designed to maintain Diddy's control over his world, and it was a system Ramirez could no longer be a part of. As Ramirez's discomfort grew, so did his resolve to document the full extent of what was happening behind the scenes. By 2012, he had developed a covert system for preserving incriminating evidence, creating encrypted files that meticulously tracked every directive that seemed even remotely suspicious. He knew that simply relying on his memory or logs wasn't enough. He needed concrete proof that couldn't be ignored or dismissed. So, Ramirez began to secretly collect footage, photographs, and other sensitive materials from the surveillance systems that were being used for far more than just security. What was most shocking, however, wasn't just the existence of this footage, it was the way it was being stored and categorized. Ramirez testified about the Leverage Library, a secure room in Diddy's primary residence that housed an extensive collection of compromising material. Files were organized by name, company, and sector, and each piece of footage was stored with notes on specific vulnerabilities or potential leverage points. This was more than just a security archive. It was a vault designed to maintain power over individuals who could pose a threat to Diddy's empire. These weren't just casual videos either. Ramirez explained that the footage captured key moments, some embarrassing, others deeply compromising, that could be used to manipulate or control individuals in business dealings, personal relationships, or even legal matters. Some of the most valuable materials were stored in offshore locations, locked away behind multiple layers of security. This wasn't just about privacy, it was about power, and the lengths to which Diddy had gone to ensure it would never slip away. As Ramirez continued to piece together the full scope of the operation, it became clear that this was far more than an isolated incident. It was a system of control that extended throughout Diddy's entire empire. This wasn't just about protecting a celebrity from false accusations or defending a business empire from rival competitors. It was about using leverage to manipulate entire networks of people. The scope of this surveillance operation spanned beyond Diddy's personal life and reached into his business dealings, his relationships with emerging artists, executives, and even media figures. Ramirez testified about how the surveillance materials weren't just used as a form of personal protection, but as a weapon, something to ensure cooperation, silence dissent, and maintain a level of control over individuals in Diddy's orbit. The strategy was simple. Once you had compromising material on someone, they would either cooperate or be destroyed, professionally or personally. Ramirez explained that this wasn't just about gathering evidence on enemies, it was about ensuring that no one ever stepped out of line. The most disturbing part of his testimony came when he revealed how these materials were used to manipulate legal challenges, influence media coverage, and even neutralize potential whistleblowers. Diddy's network had become a self-sustaining system of coercion, using both financial incentives and subtle threats to create a culture of silence. Ramirez described how Diddy would often bring people into private meetings where he'd casually reference previously recorded compromising footage, turning these moments into quiet negotiations, ensuring compliance without direct confrontation. This wasn't just a celebrity's private surveillance system, it was a meticulously crafted tool for power. Despite his growing discomfort with the surveillance system, Ramirez continued to stay in his role, his professional ethics constantly at odds with the demands he was being asked to fulfill. However, by late 2022, the pressure became unbearable. Ramirez witnessed several disturbing incidents that crossed a line he could no longer ignore. The final straw came when he was instructed to conduct surveillance on individuals in situations that involved clear exploitation. Some of the individuals targeted for surveillance were impaired, vulnerable, or under duress, a clear violation of any professional code of ethics. It wasn't just about capturing compromising footage anymore. It was about using that footage to exert power over people who were in a compromised state. One incident in particular involved a high-profile meeting where Ramirez was ordered to ensure that specific individuals were recorded in highly sensitive situations. He saw firsthand how the collected footage was then used as leverage to control these individuals, forcing them into silence or compliance. In one instance, a business associate who had once been adversarial toward Diddy suddenly reversed their position after a private meeting with the mogul, followed by a subtle reference to the surveillance materials that had been recorded during their time together. It was these kinds of scenarios that pushed Ramirez to his breaking point. He could no longer justify his involvement in a system that was clearly designed not for security, but for coercion, blackmail, and manipulation. The realization that he was part of something much darker than just celebrity protection hit him hard. Ramirez knew that staying silent any longer would make him complicit in a system of exploitation and abuse. He had to act. Michael Ramirez's testimony has revealed a chilling look into the darker side of celebrity culture, a system built on surveillance, leverage, and control. What started as a simple job to protect one of the most powerful men in entertainment soon became a mission to document and expose the illegal activities taking place behind the scenes. From surveillance systems built for manipulation to carefully stored footage used as power over individuals, this case paints a disturbing picture of how influence is maintained in the world of wealth and fame. But this is just the beginning. The shocking revelations from Ramirez's testimony could have far-reaching consequences, not just for Diddy, but for the entire entertainment industry. As more details emerge, the true extent of this operation may become even clearer. Stay updated on this groundbreaking case by liking and subscribing. Don't miss out on future developments as this story continues to unfold, revealing even more secrets of Hollywood's hidden power dynamics.